lounging, son.
All right, welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and I am back with Mr. Joe Casey, one of my favorite writers of the business. I'm so stoked. We've been going through Blood Squad 7, went through the first 4 issues, and we're back with the Strikefile issue, which I was very stoked. When you announced this, it kind of ties back into like everything about like Youngblood and how. Well, we'll get into Youngblood in a second. Actually, I wanted to ask you some questions about Youngblood, but the Youngblood series of the Strikefile book, so it's harkens back to like you said in the letters columns, like the annuals and stuff that DC and Marvel do. So I love this issue. It was awesome.
Thanks, man. I'm pretty proud of this one. It's rare these days that you get to do. Technically, it's a done in one. I mean, it ties into the continuity, but I'm really happy with how this story turned out as a story in and of itself.
As most of the issue isn't necessarily like rewriting history. There's bits and pieces where it is. Obviously, you've done analogs of like those characters. I do want to ask though, what did you think when Youngblood was announced that Rob was going to come back? I know it's not going to affect this book because it's not. I mean, this book is on its own. It has nothing. I mean, it's not going to affect it in any way. What did you think of that? Because I honestly thought it would never happen.
Well, I'm happy for Rob because I think Rob cares about those characters and he created them. So if they should be with anybody, they should be with Rob.
Right.
So that part's great. And then when the books come out, we'll all get to see for ourselves what comes of it. I mean, I think that what's cool about Youngblood is that whenever it comes around again, people are willing to give it a chance. They want it to be good. They want it to be great. I'm glad that it's teed up for Rob to give us something great. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does.
Yeah, I was absolutely shocked. Anybody that listens to this podcast, he basically said it was never going to happen in his mind. Like he really never. I mean, maybe I'm speaking out of turn. I feel like he said that pretty much. I mean, I think a lot of us fans, just because of the people that had the rights.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, sometimes these things that we see in the public arena, what's said and what's not said, it's sometimes a game of 4-dimensional chess where people are finding their stance on something that they think might pay off in the future or not. I don't know.
Didn't have the record button on the other camera, so that's why the video looked a little weird up until this point. But now we should be good to go.
This is pirate radio here, man. We're cool.
Yeah, I like that you called it like 4-dimensional chess, though. That's an interesting way of putting it.
Well, I mean, if you've been around long enough, you get to know the game a little bit, and I think Rob knows the game pretty well.
Well, either way, I'm excited for it, and I'm excited for Blood Squad 7 and Youngblood to, exist within the same universe because it's completely possible for them to both exist, I think. And, multiverse, dude. So,
yeah.
So we open up straight at the Blood Squad 7 war room under the Pentagon. And this is going to tee us up for basically this mission that the team is going to go on.
Yeah, there's getting a signal from an old source, and it's an old Blood Squad 7 teammate that's been off the grid for quite a while.
Yeah, I love these character pages when comics do this.
That is a direct homage. That layout is a direct homage to an issue of Uncanny X-Men. That I think it was when they introduced the Dazzler. It's a Claremont Byrne issue, and that's the splash page layout, except with the X-Men and people. It's a famous splash of. I think it's also the first appearance of Kitty Pryde. She's running down an alleyway being chased by, and it's got all the X-Men's heads around it. So that's what that's a lift from.
I knew it looked very familiar. I just couldn't put my finger on it. But now that I just picture that, because I just recently read that whole story arc of Uncanny.
Yeah. That's why we have the top copy in the Image Comics Presents Blood Squad 7. I mean, it's just a big 70s Marvel homage.
Amazing. So yeah, you're introducing. I mean, we've gotten hints of Man of War before, but this is the first time we're really getting some a little bit of the backstory, a little bit of the differences.
Yeah.
With him.
Yeah, I mean he's the diehard analogy. I mean that's pretty obvious. So yeah, this is one of those whatever happened to type stories.
And we got Erica, and Jimmy Suzuki was one of the, I don't say handler, that's not the right word, but he was one of the guys behind the scenes with the original incarnation of the team.
No, Jimmy is Tashi.
Oh, he is? Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
he's
That's
Tashi.
where I got confused because I'm like, I almost went back and started like to see if I was missing something, but he is referred to. That's just his alter ego then.
Correct.
I thought Tashi was his actual name for some reason.
No, that's his Blood Squad 7 code name.
Okay, okay.
So yeah, he's called back because they've got the signal, this Man of War signals back on. He's back on the grid, and Tachi was one of his closest teammates on the team. So
Yeah.
calling him back in to see if he's got anything he can help with.
I like that he's like, he's like, oh, I've been talking to Blockhead. You can save your sales pitch though. I don't need all that, because he thinks he's gonna get recruited again.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Man, Paul Fry is good.
He is really good, dude. Underrated, man. All I could think of was when how Local Man got that Eisner nod. I would love to see this book get the Eisner nod for
Don't hold your
best.
breath, man.
Hey, I will, man. Hey, I'll be real. I didn't think Local Man. I love Local Man, but I didn't think that was.
Not true. I guess anything's possible, but
Yeah.
I'm not counting on it.
I'll keep talking about it, and maybe I'll make it a reality. But yeah, I love this. Man of War battling Super Patriot right here.
Yeah, this is the scene from Super Patriot, the first Super Patriot miniseries by Keith Giffen, Erik Larsen, and
Dave Johnson, right?
Johnson. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that was a great series.
yeah. Really,
I love the behind the scenes stuff just as much as I love the action stuff. And he definitely balances in this particular issue. The balance is perfect, I think.
yeah. I mean, thematically, it worked out really well too because of what Man of War's trying to get Super Patriot to recognize his own humanity. That's right from the old series, and then that pays off later on with Man of War. So it sort of bookends the story.
I like that, like during this whole scene too, Tashi's like, we promised him time, we owe him his shot.
That's all straight from the miniseries. I mean, that's
been a while since I read it. I got to read that again.
same dialogue, everything.
Oh wow, okay.
Oh yeah, all these flashbacks utilize the same dialogue. I don't, except for names, I don't rewrite anything.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I figured you might have, but because I don't think I've asked you that out of all the scenes that you've redone, I just assumed you tweaked it a little bit more than it.
Just the names, just replacing names, but the rest is, I mean, some of that stuff, especially in this scene, I would never write like that. That's just not in my style at all. So that's pure Erik Larsen dialogue there.
Yeah, I love seeing these two go at it. Super Patriot's a favorite of mine, so.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And it goes to show you how pervasive Youngblood was in the early Image, days. I mean, they showed up everywhere,
Oh, I know. That's why it's so crazy to think like they were just kind of, not that anybody, I don't think when people think of Image, they necessarily like worry about the continuity of characters and like who exists and who doesn't. But it is weird to think of like certain characters that were so like entrenched, especially like Chapel with Spawn, and he had to be taken out and not talked about. Yeah. And then you talk about Angela too. Gaiman taking Angela, so
we get back into a very Aaron Sorkin-esque scene here in the White House.
So this we're Dimes, right? Is this guy?
Yeah, he's White House Chief of Staff.
And Tashi was kind of like taken aback. I didn't call that out, but he was like really taken aback by this dude even being involved.
Yeah. I mean, Tachi's been out of it for a while, so the government's a lot more involved now than they probably were back in the day. And it's another reason he probably doesn't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But here they are talking to the Chinese ambassador, because that's where Man of War's shown up and deep inside mainland China. So to get him out requires a little bit of negotiation, a little bit of, greasing the wheel, making sure it's okay. Otherwise, I mean, you just can't send, American troops into China without getting some clearance. So that's kind of what's happening here.
Yeah, Man of War doesn't give a shit though about any boundaries, obviously. And I mean, like they're talking about concentration camps. They were rounded up because they're Muslim.
Yeah.
They were talking about, he talks about like the three evils: separatism, religious extremism, and international terrorism. These things must be dealt with. Yeah. I just love his his facial reactions, he does them so well. Like this dude looks like a piece of shit. Like Dimes looks like a scumbag. Erica's like her personality just rings through. Like there's to me, I think I don't want to say most artists, but there's not as many artists I feel that like really like convey like the personality in their faces as
Yeah,
much. Like Kevin McGuire obviously was like one of the best I think that ever did it,
sure,
but
yeah,
Hall is like killing it. You know,
yeah,
no faces look exactly the same. And sometimes when you're reading, they just look very like they're there and generic and like you can't
yeah,
really tell the emotion behind it. But I mean, this is a perfect example of it right here. Every
yeah.
single scene. I mean, every single captioning.
Yeah, it's always interesting in a talking head scene. It's a challenge for any artist to get those emotions through from panel to panel.
Hmm.
And yeah, Paul nails it every time.
I mean, look at this, and she's talking about the genocide, and that plays out with Infinity later and the way that
Yeah,
the team's gonna react when
right.
they go to stop Man of War, because like this is where it gets like interesting too, because like they're going to stop him and retrieve him. Basically,
Yeah,
he's looked at as property, right, of the government.
right, exactly.
But there's some fucked up shit going on at this place, and it's like I know I'm gonna getting ahead of myself, but even just like here, like you're watching this dude just gets capped right in the head,
Yeah,
and the team has really just got one mission, and it's not to like save these people that are having like horrific things happen to them. And so they basically have to like hold themselves back,
that's
which I
right.
thought was like really interesting. I don't really think, I mean, I know we've seen it in comics, but I don't think it's like really anything recent that I can think of that where it's like talked about it amongst the teammates, you know?
Well, I wanted to get with this book in general, I wanted to get into the idea about what does, a government sponsored superhero team mean? And it means that they have a duty to follow the tenets of that government, as
Hmm.
opposed to the tenets of like a normal superhero who is not affiliated with any one nation or one political point of view. Most superheroes are just truly top to bottom altruistic,
Hmm.
and these guys aren't in that position, even though they might want to be. But they're this is their job, and they're and as you see during the scene, like you say, Infinity kind of has her moment of hesitation of like, are we doing the right thing? Just taking our guy and splitting. To do anything more would cause a lot of problems for a lot of people.
Yeah, I didn't call out either. But you mentioned the team, the Allies, too, which
Oh
is
yeah.
like that book never came out, but the ad for it was awesome. And I was like, fuck, I didn't realize it didn't come out. I kept looking for it. And then finally I realized like oh, it was never published. But I like that you called back to that team because that was supposed to be kind of like a legacy team, kind of like a I don't want to say JSA or
Yeah.
Invaders, but kind of in that vein.
Yeah, totally. And I felt okay not changing that name because Allies is kind of generic for the time period, which is why they used it in the first place.
Hmm.
So I felt like I could use it. I could skate on that one. It could go both ways. It could either be the team or the Allied powers or whatever, however you want to interpret it. It's fine.
Yeah. I love this, man. I mean, even him, like Ripcord, like all due respect, you need to stand down. Like it's like they don't really want to have to fight him, but
Yeah,
he's obviously gone nuts. And like he doesn't, I don't want to say nuts, but he doesn't remember everything. At least that's the
right.
way I'm.
Right. No, that's right. His programming is a little mixed up. He's not quite himself. That's the whole issue here.
I love the way Ripcord's fucking thing is depicted. I love how it goes all red and he's just
Yeah,
ripping apart everything.
yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
And I like the precision of just going for the weapons. I
Hmm.
think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
And then he gets the boot in the face for his
Oh,
trouble.
so good.
It's interesting, these kind of team superhero fight scenes. I mean, we talked about it a little bit on the last one, but it's all about trying to give everybody their moment and demonstrate their powers and give them a bit of characterization. Like you said on the previous page, Ripcord is, all due respect. You need to stand down. I mean, he's trying. He's not seeing this guy as a bad guy or a villain,
Hmm.
but he's got to do his thing. And there's an economy that I have started to get into more and more with these fight scenes that I found really interesting. And it's like we said this before, it's its own kind of art form to choreograph these things in a way that's clear to the reader, imparts some characterization, and also let you know, well, this is what this guy does, and these are this guy's powers, and you're trying to accomplish a lot of things in a very short space of time.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think about that you have that's being thought of as you're laying out the pages and the fight scenes and like being conscious of like, okay, we gotta like you said, give them their moment and like everything is there for a reason. It's not just like thrown in for a fight.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cliche of old how comic book writers used to go when they would do Marvel style. They would say pages 5 to 10, they fight,
Yeah.
and let the artist work it out. But there's a lot more to it than that if you really want to get into it. I mean,
Yeah,
you
for
can
sure.
you can accomplish a lot, go through into a lot of levels in what is considered just a straight fight scene.
And then we got Night Striker even thinking like, is this overkill? But we gotta take him down, because
Yeah,
like he is like one of the most, I mean, Die Hard also is one of the more powerful members of the
right.
team, and so is Man of War. So it's like they don't like it does feel like they want to hold back, but they also can't because they need to like take care of the mission at hand. But this
Yeah,
part right here with Infinity, seeing all the prisoners, and you can see like the desperate look in them for help, and like she just gets taken out of the moment to the point where she's not even paying attention to what Night Striker says.
yeah. I mean, this is the thing about Infinity. The generational aspect of this series, Infinity is young and
Mm-hmm.
inexperienced. So she's seeing some of this stuff for the first time. And of course, it's going to have some effect on her.
I even like the way she flies up.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's like the way her arms are just like outstretched as she I'm not floating but flying up.
It's a
It's
Christ
like
pose. The Christ
yeah,
pose.
this move right here, dude. Oh, so sick.
Yeah. Bet Noir going for the Achilles tendon.
Yeah.
Harsh.
And then he even this is where we see, right? Like, oh man, like then he starts to realize that maybe he knows, and then he feels the earth shaking. I like how like you said, each person gets their play at him.
Yeah.
It's not everybody storming him at once, which is what you probably would do with like a villain, but
Right.
not with him because you're not trying to like completely dismantle this guy.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, each issue that passes, I like the book even more. Because like
Yeah.
now it's like, you just start to like you have more as a reader, you got more of a feel for the characters. You start to like really kind of like know their heads. Like I can pick up most people can pick up a Batman and like like who he is. I mean,
Yeah.
unless it's talking about absolute Batman, which is different. But like Batman, Superman, everybody knows who they are. But these characters are like we're really learning for the first time, and you're slowly building out kind of who they are and their motivations because each person is there for their own reasons. They're not just like, oh, I want to be a superhero, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's the whole idea is that, the sort of the setup of this being a Youngblood analogous team is all cool. And I love the flashback stuff and the connection to the Image universe. But it's when it comes down to it, it's really about hopefully the readers embracing these characters and feeling invested. And that's the unstated mission of this series is to get people on board with these guys.
Yeah, I mean, it says it right here too. I mean, first of all, he talks about being a fan and he's trying to take down somebody he's a fan of. But right here, where she's like, Ripcort's telling her, we're not here to save them. We have our orders. And she's just like, I mean, how do we not want to do something about it? We're superheroes.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And believe me, this is a thread that will continue in the series. Her, her eyes opening to really what's going on and what she's gotten herself into.
Yeah. I like that she doesn't just blindly follow, especially because her mother is basically in a position of power. I don't want to
Yeah.
necessarily say she's in charge, but she is in a position
Yeah.
of power.
Yeah. Totally.
Gets so good here too. They just got him all fucking in this tank upside down
Well,
too.
he's all back to tanked.
Yeah.
It's always this to me, this is I mean, I use this trope a lot, the kind of suspended in a energy field or a fluid field, and all the nanotech is doing its job, and it's sort of shorthand for trying to fix somebody or put somebody in stasis or diagnose somebody. It's a well-worn trope, but Paul draws it so convincingly. I was like, okay, I'm okay with leaning into the cliche here.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're talking about him being around since World War II. I'm sure you could forgive a little PTSD. I mean, and he's a soldier. He's got no war to, without a war to fight, and then all these like upgrades he's had over the years. And I know they say it a little bit later, but like, how did those upgrades happen? He's now
Right,
complete. Now he's like his greatest fear, which, like you said, ties back to when he was fighting Super Patriot, right? Like he's like, no, you're still a man. You're not
right.
just like a robot. But now he has become a wholly artificial construct, right? So like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is his fear.
That's sort of the mystery backstory of like he has had upgrades
Mhm.
all this time throughout the years. How did he get them? And what some of them were government upgrades, some of them weren't. It's just leaving that mystery open.
I like how he like called Tasha's like on like, you keep talking politics. He didn't care about that
Yeah,
morality, what I mean? Because like he is, I don't, I mean, was he supposed to kind of be like the Cap, right? He was supposed to be sort of like,
that's what I always thought. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I mean. Okay. So yeah, it makes sense. And now he's just like all robot now and stuff. And he's a man, technically a man out of time, because he's like
yeah,
just continuing to fight. What is it? I mean, at this point, we're talking like 80, right? 80 years
yeah, yeah,
at this point since World War II. Crazy
yeah,
to think that it's been that
yeah.
long.
Oh my God, yeah, totally.
I mean, I always just picture like, oh yeah, World War II is like 30 years ago, like when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, now I'm really feeling a little old as I'm talking about it. But we come back to Eisenhower Executive Office Building, and we're back with Angela Hart. She's a press secretary, and
yeah.
talking about how, I mean, basically, the world has kind of seen them already. Like they're not hidden anymore. They've tried to keep themselves hidden, but there has been some sort of like, right, some sort of leak in the public with them.
Well, I mean, there are rumors are flying. There've been a couple public things, so there are rumors.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're planning on getting ahead of those rumors by doing a really public presentation. That's sort of the idea here. And this is the part goes back to the original Youngblood thing, which I wanted to really bring out is not only are they superheroes, but they need media training. They need to know how to conduct themselves as a public figure,
Mm-hmm.
and that's got to be taught. As much as they, train with their superpowers, they have to know how to be a public persona, which does not come naturally to most people.
No, I mean, Ripcord says I'm not interested in photo ops.
Yeah. And she's like, well, you picked the wrong job, pal.
Yeah,
That's most of what this is.
great, dude. And then like as we're nearing the end, like you can kind of like, I was guessing that they were gonna try to like incorporate Man of War in some way because like they're not gonna just like take him back and not do anything.
Right.
But like, yeah, look at the new scans compared to him 30 years ago. I liked it again, like they said, it's like there's some bootleg stuff. So if he's been
Right.
out, where did he get it?
Yeah.
So I'm excited to find out more of like how that happened.
Now we get into the horror movie
Yes.
section of this series of this story. That POV shot at the top of the page there with this fucked up.
Hmm.
I love that stuff.
So good. Now Tachi's got to go take down his friend. This is great. These are some of my favorite pages.
Yeah, one of the reasons I wanted to do this story as a sort of one-off as the Strikefile issues, because it is out of everything that's been released so far, it is the most balanced between the new team and the old team in terms of camera time and characterization and stuff like that. I mean,
Hmm.
um, this if you're transposing the Youngblood characters, and this is if Shaft and Die Hard had to fight, there's some emotion there. There's some history there. So I wanted to give it it's the necessary space and the drama that it deserved, and it turned out pretty cool.
No, it's amazing. I love this. And I always love like I love this kind of stuff where it's just stark white
Yeah,
and then you just see the trail of the sword and then the arms cut off.
yeah. It's very Frank Miller esque.
Yes.
And then this is again, this is where it pays off the Super Patriot flashback, because the thing that Tachi's saying to Manowar are basically the same thing that Manowar said to Super Patriot in the earlier scene, just a sort of a rewritten version of that speech.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, just tell him, he's like, we fought side by side together in Blood Squad 7, which is instead of the allies, right? He's like, I'm your friend. You're not a machine, not a weapon, you're a man. And it just breaks down.
Now, I will say, this is another inside baseball with that hug. The reference that I sent to Paul was that scene in The Authority, the Miller Quietly Authority, where Midnighter is facing off against, I think his name is Tank Man, and he really basically just talks him down, like he knows he's had a fucked up childhood and all stuff, and they end up hugging. That's right.
Doesn't he
looked at that moment for him.
Except doesn't he kill him right afterwards? He doesn't kill him?
He lets Tank Man just kind of walk off, just like totally demoralized, and it's almost like he had an Oprah light bulb moment.
I don't know. I just always remember Midnighter killing everybody. So I can't. I mean, I remember the hug, but for some reason I was remembering it as like he kills the whole team.
That would be cold, but no, he didn't.
I mean, Midnighter's a cold motherfucker. So, but I mean, look, situation's contained.
Yeah.
And the team, I love this scene too, where they're in the bar and they're talking about what happened. And again, it comes all back to like them basically just allowing such a horrendous thing to continue on because their mission had nothing to do with it, and I mean, she just says, oh, it was just a moment of weakness.
Well, she's playing it off, but
yeah, she's trying to protect herself.
Yes, exactly. And they all feel it, but it's one of those things they are still getting to know each other to some degree, and they're trying to connect and see where everybody stands, but there's still like that tension in the air of it did happen. She did have that moment in the field, and they're gonna have to contend with it, and she's gonna have to contend with it because she had bitched in the first issue, like, put me in, coach, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to do this. And clearly she's put in and on her first real field mission, and she has that moment of hesitation where she actually considers exceeding their order mandate, which would not have gone over well.
And you got Ripcord over here just completely like blindly following. He's like, we're just the weapon. They pulled the trigger. I mean, he's just like, he'll follow anything they say.
With his ginger ale? Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get the shocker here where I kind of figured it was going to happen, but I wasn't entirely sure because like we had gotten so far into the book and I'm like, okay, I flipped to see how many pages were left. But then of course, you got them forcing Man of War onto the team.
Yeah, which is also, it's another favorite superhero trope of mine with these superhero teams when I remember John Byrne's West Coast Avengers where they forced US Agent on the team. And he shows up and he's like, here I am, and they're all pissed, and Hawkeye leaves. I mean, those kind of team dynamics, I really love that stuff. So,
yeah, I remember that run. That was a great run.
Yeah, so it's very cool to me to have the opportunity to kind of play that note of like, and here's your next member, whether you like it or not, Very cool.
Yeah, another great issue. I mean, you got some great letters pages in here. You got the entire release schedule, including the first 4 issues of the trade, and then leading into the second arc that you got the Dutch trade over there too.
Yep.
Super stoked for the next issue. If you haven't been reading it, go pick it up. Go get the single issues. If you want to wait for the trade, you can do that too, if that's your preference. But don't miss out on this awesome series. It's fun every single month. So
the trade is out next month, and then number 5 comes out the month after. So
there's
not a month that goes by without some Blood Squad 7 product in your stores.
That's right. So hit up your local comic shop, go pick it up. And Joe, as always, I love going through these with you, and I look forward to going through the next one too.
Thanks, man. Looking forward to it.